Welcome to Pick Up and Deliver, the podcast where I pick up my audio recorders, head out for a walk, and deliver an episode to you while I stroll around. I'm Brendan Riley. Well, good morning, listeners. It's a lovely day here in suburban Chicago. We're at the end of this warm streak, which is still keeping the temperatures up into the 70s at the beginning of October, which is a really strange feeling, but generally quite pleasant. Today I thought I would do an episode that I do occasionally called 400 Back, where I look back 400 episodes and see what was I doing 4 years ago on the podcast and reflect on it. And 400 Back was episode 161, or give or take one or two episodes. I usually nudge it up or down to see what's around there. Episode 161, which was Shelf of Opportunity Update number 1, or Shelf of Opportunity Revisited. For those of you who are very new to the podcast, Shelf of Opportunity is the phrase I use for the metaphorical shelf of games that I own that I haven't played. I prefer Shelf of Opportunity over the, I think, slightly more common Shelf of Shame, because while I do have some shame about how long some of these games have been on this metaphorical shelf, in all honesty, playing new games is my favorite part of the hobby. Trying out a new game, seeing what it does, enjoying it. And so having new games to play doesn't feel shameful to me. It feels like an opportunity that I haven't made full use of yet. And so Shelf of Opportunity is the term I prefer to use. That said, my Shelf of Opportunity has been hovering at around between 50 and 60 games for a couple years now, because basically as I knock games off of the shelf, I acquire new games as well. Sometimes I'll have stretches where I go for a while without buying any new games, and I feel pretty good about that. But sometimes I get a bunch in a row. Often I'm able to get them at discount, which is nice. But generally, being frugal with games isn't always something I've been good at. And so I keep acquiring new games at the speed that I am taking games off the list. As a result, while the list stays about the same length, its content changes as I buy games and play them and remove them. But sometimes I'll buy a game and I don't get it played, and then it gets added to the list. Or I'll play an old game that's been on there a while and I just get around to playing it. So what I thought I'd do today is reflect a little bit on the arc the list has taken. I looked through the archives and there were 3 episodes in which I've talked about my Shelf of Opportunity. Episode 13, right at the beginning. Episode 161, which is our 400 Back episode for the day. And episode 213, which is update number 2. So by that logic, this would be update number 3. And I guess I'm about 200 late. Looks like I was going to try to do one every 100 episodes or so. And I missed one at 320, 420, or 320 and 420. And now I'm back. On episode 13, I just pointed people to, I talked about it, but I didn't do extensive show notes. On episode 161, I did show notes and I talked about several games that are sort of front of my mind as games I want to play. Since that time, I have played a bunch of them, but there are a few that I have not. In episode 213, I did the same. I picked out a few that I really wanted to play and then sort of talked about those. So I thought what I would do for today is talk about those 2 previous lists where I've succeeded and where I still have to play. And then I'll add a few more games from the list as it stands right now that are top of my priority list. And then I think what I'll do is make a strong effort to have these be the picks that I am adding to my top of the stack list each month. Perhaps it'll be a challenge next year in my top of the stack goals, or maybe I'll have cleared out some of these by then. We'll see. In episode 161, here are the games that I listed that I have since played. Lords of Zidit, Queen's Architect, Argent the Consortium, SPQF, Glory to Rome, and Vast. Those are all games that I've played since I made that list, so that's good. However, Liberté, Founders of Gloomhaven, New Angeles, and The Dawn of the Peacemakers are all games that I listed as games I wanted to play, but had not gotten around to playing, and now it's 4 years later, and I still haven't played any of those games I just listed. Now, there are other games on the list as well, but these are the 4 I was sort of very excited about. When I got to episode 213, I had a list of 5 games that I wanted to play: Buffy, Miskatonic School for Boys, Panic Station, MOA, and New Angeles. I'm sad to say, I've played none of those. No, one of them. I played the Buffy game. None of the other ones have I played. So this means that of those old lists, I already have like 9 games that I'm going to put on this new sort of high priority list. And I think what I'm going to do is reorder the Shelf of Opportunity by how much I want to play them. Or actually, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep this list. But I am also going to remind you, this is something I started a long time ago, but it didn't really gain much traction, which is if you, dear listener, would like to participate in helping me figure out what I'm going to play, I would love for you to head over to that Board Game Geek list and give some thumbs to the things on the list. By thumbs, I mean the little thumbs up green icon. When I go and look at that, one of the things I look at is which games have the most thumbs. And one thing I could do is try to play the game with the most thumbs, have that be a priority. I have used that method in the past. Sometimes I got stuck. For a long time, I was trying to play the Murder, She Wrote game because that had the most thumbs. It took me a long time to get it played. But I'd be interested in seeing how that works as a path. All right, so those games that I mentioned are all games I'm still interested in playing and keen to try. That said, there are, right now, 64 games on my Shelf of Opportunity. Any game that's added in the past year, I consider sort of new enough and exciting enough that I might just play that without too much concern or effort. I might just go, hey, time to play this one. So the ones I'm more interested in motivating myself for are the older ones. And so I'm going to lay those out for you. First up, we have Tyramid Earth Sphere. This is a legendary game. I encourage you to go back and listen to previous episodes in which I've talked about it. It was one of the first very expensive Kickstarters I backed, and it was a disastrous financial thing for the people who made the game. I eventually was able to get my copy through a little back channel conversation and paying 20 extra bucks for shipping, even though they had said shipping was going to be free. It took me like 5 years to get it, and then I'm sad to say I got it, and I never got around to opening it. So it's still, the excitement of getting it was there, but I didn't actually try it yet. So I probably should. It feels like I should. They also have the Airship Minis, which I need to get set up as well. So that's Tyramid Earth Sphere. The game is about being a airship pirate and going around, collecting loot and stuff. It looks pretty neat, but I haven't even opened it. I think I'm going to do that today, actually, open it. Second one, Aeroplanes, Aviation Ascendant. This is an economic game from Martin Wallace. I picked it up, I think, cheap at a used copy at Half Price Books. And it's right up my alley, Martin Wallace, economic game. It's not the best reviewed of his games, but most of his games have something interesting in them to play. So this is one I've just kind of been putting off. One of the main things is I think it's either only 3-player or best of 3-player, and it just hasn't found its way to the table, but I would like to try it. That's Airplanes, Aviation Ascendant. Next up is Circadian's First Light. I got this one as a free, I think I got this one as a prize from Blue Peg Pink Peg during one of their live shows. I answered a question or did something, and I got Circadian's First Light. I've heard good things about it. I know they released an updated version of it, but the old one is supposed to be pretty good. I just haven't gotten around to playing it. It's got lots of neat little wooden tokens and a neat idea. So I think that the premise of that one looks pretty fun, and I would like to give it a try. I haven't had a ton of success with the other Garfield games in terms of my pleasure with them. The Of the North Sea games never really did it for me. I've played Architects of the West Kingdom a couple times, and it's fine, but it never really clicked for me. Maybe Circadian's First Light will be the one that does it. I'm interested in try it. It's going on the list. Next up is Spirits of the Rice Paddy. I love the idea of this game. It's got water management, and as a key part of it, it looks really nice. I think it's a game that's just never grabbed hold of the gaming community's attention. I know Rahdo really liked it for a while, which it's hard to gauge whether a game is good based on whether Rahdo likes it or not, because he only talks about games he likes, and he talks about a lot of games. So he's so hyperbolically enthusiastic about everything that sometimes it's hard to use his enthusiasm as a gauge about actual quality. But I do take it as a thumbs up, thumbs down. If Rahdo likes it, it's probably good. It's just a question of how good. So I'm interested to try it. I got that used. That was Spirits of the Rice Paddy. And then the last game I wanted to put on this list is Struggle of Empires. This is a Martin Wallace, big, heavy area control game in which you are one of the empires in the Age of Sail, going around the world imposing your will on everybody. It's not particularly moral as an idea, but it's supposed to be an amazing game. A friend got it for me as a gift, and so I have the deluxe Eagle Gryphon edition with design by Ian O'Toole. It just looks beautiful, and it's the sort of game that I think would be really interesting to play. And it also looks like it's going to be pretty big and meaty, so part of the reason I haven't gotten to the table is I think it's going to take a fair amount of work to get to the table, but I am interested in trying it. So A Struggle of Empires is going to be the last game that I put on the, I don't know what you call it, the bumped up priority of the Shelf of Opportunity. These are the games that sort of rise to the top for me of games that I want to play. So putting that out there, these are the games that I'm going to try to prioritize playing maybe in the next year on the top of the stack, or really make an effort to get to the table. And I'd be keen to have your help as well, deciding what else I should prioritize. And the way you can do that is to head over to Board Game Geek and go to my Shelf of Opportunity. You can find the link in the show notes for this episode at rattleboxgames.com, and thumb the games that you think it would be interesting to hear me make it a special effort to get played. Alternately, you can head over to the Guild and share what games are at the top of your Shelf of Opportunity list. What games are you really keen to see played, and what games are you really keen to play? Thanks for joining me on my walk today. I hope your next walk is as pleasant as mine was. Bye-bye.
Brought to you by Rattlebox Games.